what has money allowed you to do for your life, for your kid, for just, to make a positive impact for you?
I lose sight of it sometimes of how much of a blessing it is not to have to worry about that. Now I am able to focus on the things I do because I don't have money issues strapping me down.
Mm-hmm.
Once you finally get that cushion, you go, I can breathe.
Welcome to Dan Kramer's 4F's Faith, Family, Business, Finance podcast. No matter what you're needing, Dan Kramer is going to help you grasp important concepts about business, life, family, fitness, and most of all, faith. Because as an entrepreneur, you need all four areas of life in order to succeed, in order to be more successful, and have exactly what you want. Subscribe to the podcast today, check out our YouTube channel, and let's get the show started with Dan Kramer and the 4F's Faith, Family, Fitness, and Finance.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is the 4F Forum, where we talk about faith, family, fitness, and finances. A lot about finances on this show. Today I got a pretty cool guest. I met him at a mastermind, I think earlier this year, maybe it was end of last year. It's been a hot minute, but in the real estate world, and definitely an expert in his space. So I'm going to pick his brain, let him tell his story, and kind of dive right into it. So Dustin, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and then we'll kind of dive into the specifics of, how you make money and how long it took to get where you're at today.
Sure. First off, thanks for having me. We met in Destin about, I think it was January. So
it was this year.
Approaching a year, but you've definitely made a strong point to stay in touch, and I appreciate that. So basically I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I live in a small town right outside of Memphis, about an hour outside of Memphis, called Jackson, Tennessee. It's very rural. It's right between Memphis and Nashville. They call it the hub city because just so much traffic comes through. So let's see. I never thought I'd be in real estate. I always wanted to be a professional wrestler or an actor or something like that. That was always my dream. And then I kind of, life hit me in the face, was like, hey, that ain't going to happen. So, you got to go into the work world. So I ended up getting a degree in IT, working on like networking systems and stuff like that, Cisco gear, stuff like that. And it wasn't something I was passionate about by any means, but I didn't hate it. I somewhat enjoyed it and, felt like it was a good career, but realistically, I was only making, $31,000 a year. So this is back in 2018. So just recently went through a divorce and was living on my own in a little 2-bed, 1-bath. Like, when I say the worst part of town, I'm not trying to be cliche when I say this. It was terrible. We lived right next to these other apartments. I was in a duplex, with this other apartment complex it was gang territory. I was paying dirt cheap rent, but it was all I could afford. At the time I've got a 4-year-old son. I'm just afraid to even bring him over to the house, and so that was one of those like rock bottom moments. I really didn't have any friends. I definitely didn't have any money. I was so paycheck to paycheck that my paychecks were paying my overdraft fees. And I was just kind of in one of those situations where like, this has got to change. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need to do it now. Like, I got to figure something out. I started kind of doing some stuff on eBay where I'd go out to like, Goodwills or a yard sale and go, hey, this is only $1 and I know it's worth more than that. So, slap it on eBay and do all these little mini flips on just different device or little items. And I started selling books to Amazon and stuff like that. And I was busting my butt to see really not much in return. It was basically like having a part-time job. But I was like, man, if I'm going to really make a living doing this or try to get out of this slump, I'm going to have to scale it up. And like, I just have no idea how to do that. And that fizzled out. And I remember when I moved into that apartment, my landlord gave me a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I signed the lease.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, dude, I didn't read it. I'd lived there 2 years already. And I finally just picked it up off the shelf and I'm like, I'm willing to do anything at this point. So I read a book, and it was that book. And I don't read everything. If I read it, if I say I read it, it was on Audible. Because I'll be thinking about something else. What do I need to do today? Oh, wait, I just read 3 chapters. But I ended up reading that book and it really set in. But, I was kind of just at this point where like, I don't know what to do. I still have no money to get ahead. I get it. I need to get out of this 9-to-5 work mentality, need to change my mindset, all this stuff. But realistically, I'm still making $31K a year, and I'm paycheck to paycheck. So how do I get out of this? So I reached out to my landlord and I was like, man, you gave me this book. Can, just help me out? Maybe I can ride your coattail all the way to the end. And you just, no, I thought maybe he was some huge, big investor or something like that. And it's not, he's got a few rentals, but, just a nice guy that wants to help people. So he said, hey, Dustin, I'm hearing you. Why don't you come to this real estate meeting that they put on here in Jackson? It's a free meeting where real estate investors kind of get together and talk about the market and stuff like that. And before I came, there wasn't many people there. It gets grown over the years, and I've kind of taken over it now. We do something now called the Hub City Real Estate Meetup, where that group's no longer around. And I was like, I have to have a group to go to. It motivates me, keeps me fired up. So we do it once a month. But basically it's the same thing. But anyways, I went there and, I learned about a strategy, what they called bird dogging. And I'm like, what is that? But basically it's, going out and finding these fixer uppers for investors that don't have time to go out and find these good deals that are out there on the market. You just got to know how to find them, know how to locate the people that own them and negotiate. It's the whole process just to find these deals and facilitate them. So I was like, well, that sounds interesting. So I ended up doing a little bit more diving in and realized, it's called wholesaling real estate, and where you assign contracts. And so I just became obsessed. I became absolutely obsessed and didn't miss a meeting for a year, went to every month, but it took me about 3 months to close my first deal. I think I made $2,500 on the deal, which if you were me and you had like the $50 in my account till the rest of the week and that 2,500 hits, and then you're going, and I'm going to get paid this week. Like, oh, heck yeah, man. I'm going to have like $4,000 in the bank. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. So got super excited. I almost quit because my first 4 deals fell through. And I was like, this is just like the eBay thing. I'm going to give up. I'm going to quit. But that one closed finally. And then another one closed. And then I had one closed for like $15,000. And then that was the day I called my boss, or I sent him an email. I was like, hey man, I love working here, but it's time to go. I found my calling and what I'm going to do full time. So,
and when was that?
Yeah, that was 2019. That was probably April of May of 2019. So we're coming up on 5 years. Well, I'm about 4.5 years in.
That's awesome.
So I've closed about 450 since then. So
wow.
It's been crazy. It's been a huge roller coaster, but totally worth it.
You covered a lot of stuff, and some people listening to this, they got a job, they got W-2 income, maybe money's tight, maybe they're doing fine, but maybe they're listening to this because they want that additional stream of income. If they follow me, and I'm always talking about, whether you're making a lot of money, a little money, like streams of income is kind of is important. So break down maybe as simple as you can, like, how could they go bird dog? How could they go find that property? What should they be looking for? Like, because you're in a small area, I'm in a small community. A lot of my, listeners are rural and small community. Like, what does that mean? Like, what are you driving around looking for? Or how could they find that first deal? And if they did find or identify something, what should they do with it?
Cool. Yeah. So, and I wouldn't say don't be afraid that you're in a smaller area. There's a lot of these investor gurus out there that say you can't do this in a small town, but you can. I almost find it a little bit easier to do it in a small town because you can create a brand that much easier, but if you're wanting to get into this bird dogging or wholesaling real estate, the first thing you can do, and it doesn't cost you any money, is you just do a simple strategy called driving for dollars, where essentially you're just hopping in your car and you're driving around neighborhoods and you're looking left and you're looking right. You're looking at every single house. You're going down every single cove and you're looking for properties that look stressed. Maybe they have a blue tarp on the roof. There's a leak. Maybe the grass has really grown up, or the landscaping looks crappy, or, there's broken blinds all in the windows, or beat up cars in the driveway. Anything that where you would look at a house and go, ooh, they aren't taking care of that. There might be a sign of motivation there. Maybe they'd want to sell that property. So you would just want to write down those addresses, and you would want to call them up. There's a free website you can go to, just truepeoplesearch.com. If you were to find an address and then go home and you go to that truepeoplesearch.com and type in that address, it'll tell you who owns the house and what some possible phone numbers are. Now, wholesaling is not easy. I'll say it definitely takes a thick skin to do this. So most people don't want to like calling complete strangers, which is completely normal. I don't like calling complete strangers either, and I've been doing it for a while. But to call somebody and say, "Hey, I noticed your house on Smith Street. Got any interest in selling it?" It can be hard to do. But that's what I would do. I'd either call them. If they don't answer, leave a voicemail, shoot them a text. But essentially what you're doing is you're trying to find an off-market property, something that's not listed with the realtor, and you want the seller to be somewhat motivated, because if they're not motivated, they're not going to take a discount on the property. They're going to want top dollar. And we have to get, as investors, properties at the lowest price we can, because there's got to be work we got to put into it. There's all kinds of expenses. But as a wholesaler, we're not actually going to do any work on it. We're going to call them. We're going to ask them if they want to sell. And if it's at a really good price, we would want to get that house under contract. Same way you would, sign a contract with somebody that you're buying a car from or that you're buying a house from. You would sign a contract with them. And essentially the process is you get it for a low price and you sell it to a new cash buyer for a higher price. I know I'm throwing a lot out at you, but let me just give you a quick example. Say, like, for instance, this is one I just did today. The person wants 60, the house, if it's in its tip top shape, say you go in, it's HGTV'd, somebody's, that's what is it worth when it's completely turnkey and rehabbed? So this house is worth about $150, right? It only needs about $20,000 of work, carpet, paint, stuff like that, but cosmetics. And I got it for 60. So I signed a purchase and sale agreement with the seller. They said they were going to sell me that house for $60,000. Well, I know Jim Bob down the street that buys houses. He's a cash buyer and an investor, and he's offered to pay me $70,000 for it. Hey, man, if you find a property for me, let me know. I'd love to do some business. This is what we do as wholesalers. We bird dog properties. So yeah, I say, hey, I got this for 70. Do you want it? Absolutely. It works for my numbers. Let's get it done. So there's more to it. You sign what's called an assignable contract or an assignment contract with your new buyer. But essentially, just for finding that property and having the conversation with the seller and facilitating the deal, you're going to make 10 grand, because the difference between 60,000, what we are paying for it, what we signed for, versus what we're selling it to our new cash buyer, Jim Bob down the street, for 70 grand is 10 grand. So at closing, you're getting a check cut for you for 10 grand. And essentially all you did was some paperwork. And so that's what I do day in and day out. And I had no money starting out. So I essentially just drove for dollars all the time. And I worked for a printer company. So I was able to print out some fancy flyers saying I buy houses. And instead of calling them or anything, I would just drive. I would just walk up to the door and had some painter's tape. If I knew it was vacant, I just tape it right to the front door. So there's a lot of ways you can get started where it's not going to break your bank. If you can only have spare time when you're off time or weekends, it's totally doable, especially to get the ball rolling, because I worked full time when I started too. So anyways, I know that was a lot of information.
It was a ton of good information. So somebody's listening, they're like, yep. And I know for a fact, I got a handful of people that are going to take action on this. So I'm really, that's why I'm asking these simple step-by-step questions. You drive for dollars, you leave a flyer, you call them, somehow they answer and they go, I am motivated. Break down what motivated means real quick.
So motivated just means that they have a reason to sell. So it can be anything. There's a whole long list of them, especially when you're advertising for wholesaling. If they have a lien on the property. Divorce is a huge one. A lot of people, they're getting a divorce and the house is tied up in the divorce. They just want to be done with it. No party wants to spend money fixing it. They just want to be done with each other. And the house is the last thing connecting with that toxic relationship. So you come in and make them a cash offer. They're good. People that are moving out of state, people that inherit properties, people that are about to lose their house to foreclosure. Maybe they're behind on payments and they have equity in the property. They don't want to lose everything. Tired landlords, guys that are 80 years old that have 20 houses or 15 houses or 5 houses, whatever, and they're tired of messing with the tenants. The tenants suck or whatever it could be. Anything that would make somebody want to just go, I just need to sell this house as is. I need to sell it quickly. I don't feel like messing with anything. No realtors, no closing calls. Those are your motivated sellers. And there's all kinds of different situations and stories of why someone, a lot of times I have just old people wanting to move into a retirement home. They know their house is outdated, but they don't want to mess with it. So they'd rather take the cash and, go retire. So lots of different types of motivated sellers, house fires, tornado damage. I mean, that's very rare, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you don't want to negotiate with a seller that's not motivated, because there's no reason for them to go down in price. And the name of the game in wholesaling is wholesale prices. So you got to get it cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we don't mess with on market properties or anything like that.
So you drive for dollars, put out some flyers, write some handwritten notes, whatever it is, super cheap starting out. Somebody calls you and says, I want to sell my house. And you're like, okay, maybe reach out if you have questions on how to get a contract or whatever, but they sign the contract. Then how do you find your buyer when you're first starting out?
Well, there's a few different ways. There's programs where you can actually find buyers, and there's all kinds of local real estate groups. And I know you're part of probably quite a bit of them. That are full of buyers. When I say groups, local real estate groups, I mean like on Facebook and stuff like that. Social media helps so much, especially starting out, because it's hard to create legitimacy with something that isn't a, brick and mortar business. You're just kind of out there. So having a place where people can Google and go to Facebook and there's a page for your business. And that's just a little tidbit, but finding the buyers, you can find them on Craigslist. My first buyer I found was off of Craigslist, out of all places. My second buyer I found was off of Craigslist. My third buyer was off of Craigslist. Now this is almost 5 years ago, but you go to Craigslist right now and you'll see wholesale deals on there all over the place. But when I was posting on there, you didn't see any of them. Facebook Marketplace is another one, because here's the thing. You're probably thinking, how can I sell a house that I don't own? Well, you're not selling. Think of it this way. You're not selling the house. You're selling the rights to the contract. You're selling a piece of paper. The house is just associated with the contract. So so whenever you're making these posts and selling these houses, you don't say house for sale. You say assignment of contract for sale. I know it's a thin red line that you gotta make sure you follow it, because you don't want to be brokering deals. I know that's a little further, but you can post to Facebook and find buyers. You can go to Facebook, different investor groups. You can even find other wholesalers. I don't like doing this, like JV deals, unless I have to. Basically, you find another wholesaler that has a buyer, and you partner up and split the fee. Unless you have to. And I do them sometimes, but usually I'm trying to close the deal on my own. There's also a few different programs out there, like once you really start to get your wheels spinning, where you can pull cash buyer lists. And that's what I did when I first started. I pulled a cash buyer list. I skip traced it, which basically means it gives me all the phone numbers for these people, all their emails. And I just picked up the phone and manually dialed every single one of them. Some of them told me never to call them again, and then a lot of them that I touched with, I still talk to this day. So there's quite a few ways. There's different programs, but I would say starting out, stick with the old tried and true free social media platforms, because you're going to meet some of your long-term buyers on there. They're on Facebook scanning for deals all the time too. So,
yeah, cool. So, okay, we're in 2019. You closed a couple deals. When did you really start picking up?
I would say 2021 was my the liftoff. 2019, I came out like, just boom. I was ready. I was firing on all cylinders. I closed a bunch of deals by myself, and then I ended up partnering up with some people, 2 other people. And they were way more experienced than I was. I was still very, very green, just 6 months in, 7 months in. But it was a mistake for me. I learned a lot, but also lost a lot of money because not only now I'm not keeping my wholesale fees, I'm splitting them 3 ways, and I'm doing a majority of the work and marketing and stuff like that. So I kind of landed right back on my butt. I had this nice big fat bank account full of assignment fees, and it went all the way down to zero again. And I was like, how did this happen? So I ended up getting licensed, get my real estate license, and joined. I just called this guy randomly. It's the biggest brokerage here for real estate agents, and they're very bougie. Everything's very super professional. So seeing a guy like me as a wholesaler, ungroomed, crappy clothing, I'm still not at that professional level yet. I haven't learned. I've just been doing wholesale deals and getting lucky. They accepted me, and it was they brought me over, and it kind of helped mold me into more of a professional, and made me realize, what you wear does matter, and how you present yourself does matter, and just brought me to the other side of real estate. Now, not only was I starting and investing in wholesaling, now I'm seeing more of the retail side and how to get along and work with agents. But there was a lot of hoopla, or whatever you want to call it, a lot of drama behind the fact that I was wholesaling as a realtor. And I'm in a small town, so they didn't like it at all. Because I was having a lot of closings for a new guy. And, with wholesale deals, you can make $10,000 on a $50,000 house. But as an agent, if you're only getting paid 3% of $50,000, it's almost not worth your time. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of people going, well, how is he able to do that? So anyways, I ended up just retiring my license. I was like, look, there's just too many eyes on me. I just want to do my business, grow this thing. And so I retired my license, and 2021 was when I really started to up the marketing. And I saw the up in my numbers too. When I think I was only closing, I don't know how many deals I was closing. I was closing a lot of deals, but my assignment fees were very low. I was almost cutting myself short. And then I realized, hey, a lot of these investors will pay more than, you're kind of green and getting taken advantage of in a way. You can make more money. So not only did my deal flow pick up tremendously when I started advertising, my assignment fees increased as well. So normally as a realtor, I'm making anywhere from, $1,500 to $5,000 per deal. And that's great for me. But then I realized, hey, I can be making 10, 20, 30, 50 on these things, depending on how low I get them and, if the numbers work. The 2021 is when I really started to fire off, and 2022 was a great year, and this year is going to be even better. So it's definitely 2023 is definitely the best year. But yeah.
What's your systems look like today?
Systems, I do use a CRM when I remember to. So if my follow-up game was better, I'd probably do even better. But really right now, I'm just concentrated on this local market. I really don't have to go anywhere. I've got billboards and advertising in surrounding cities that are about a little over an hour away. So I'm spreading out, but I'm still centrally focused. I've got an assistant that goes and looks at houses for me and takes pictures. She's actually a licensed appraiser, so that really helps. Whenever I'm trying to value, like, hey, what would you put it at? All right, run comps for me. Okay. So that helps out a lot. But besides that, I'm a one-man gang still. I do want to scale. And in order to scale, I've got to have more systems, more people in place. But I feel like I'm just trying to get past 2023 at this point. I've got a few big hurdles I'm trying to get over right now, a few big projects. I've got a new course that's or it's just being released that I just finished up. So a few things that I want to get across before I start scaling even more. But yeah, doing about 10 deals a month. That's the average. So I think we've done over close to 90 this year so far.
That's awesome. And do you hold any? Do you flip any? I think I see your post.
Yeah, I've got one right now that is about to hit the market. I was going to rent it out. But after the rehab and just the numbers didn't really make sense that for what it's worth for the rent I would be getting for the cash flow, it just was too tight. But if I sell it, I'll make a great lick. So I've got one flip going on. I've got 8 other rentals, and then I've got my personal house. Looking at possibly buying another personal house that I just got under contract. The house is worth like $450. I've got it for $250. So it's one of those situations where it's like, hey, do I cash out my equity here? But I'll probably just wholesale it. Yeah, it's very roller coaster-ish. Like when you first get started, I mean, you're going to be so fired up and motivated, and there's going to be all these things that want to bring you down. There's going to be tons of speed bumps. Deals are going to fall through. Sellers are going to be weird. There's going to be a lot of growth in that process if you're not used to it. So that's why I never recommend people going, completely all in with marketing. Like start slow. Like make sure you can do a couple deals first before you start telling people, I can get you this and I can get you that, and I'm buying houses left and right. You got to crawl before you walk, as they say.
Yeah. You kind of hit on something else too. As far as getting in the right rooms or getting in a room, like what would you, for people listening, what would you say is a good first step to get in the right room and surround yourself with the right environment so that, you have a fighting chance?
You're just talking about who you surround yourself with, basically. Yeah. I mean, that's key. So when I first started, I was very negative and bitter, and I was like, look, I was listening to a lot of Grant Cardone stuff, just like mashup clips of him saying awesome stuff. Like my goosebumps are going and my hair's rising. I'm like, yeah, I make $1 million a day. And I just realized like I had to cut out negative people, and I had a lot of negative people in my life that I would constantly keep myself in touch with, almost like I was their good friend. And if I'm not going to be their friend, nobody is. But what I realized was, part of the problem was me, but part of it was who I was surrounding myself with. So you got to take a lot of self accountability, but I had to cut off a lot of people. And I basically only talked to people that were interested either in what I was doing or in real estate. People that were like-minded, that were like, hey, I don't want to be stuck in this grind forever either. I'm doing this, and this. Or people that I could call and say, hey, guess what happened today? And they go, oh man, that's so amazing. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. Because there's people that'll say they support you, and then you tell them that stuff and they go, oh, okay, cool. That's pretty cool. Or, and then there's people that go, dude, hell yeah, that is awesome, dude. And listen to this deal I just did. And like you have that same reaction because you're both in the same, like you understand that there is not a lot of people out there that are going to understand. And even if they do, they might not be in your same situation. And even though they might not want to be jealous, it comes out, and you'll see it with just the very people your family, the people you call your best friends. And until they change their mindset, which is hard to get people to do, and it was hard for me to do, and I still struggle. But until you change that mindset, they'll never understand. And that means you just have to surround yourself with people that have the same mindset, which is, I want to do well in life. I want to be a good person. I want to be wealthy. I'm always looking for the next thing. I don't want to be stagnant. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to just be average either, because we only get one life, and man, it's going by quick. Yeah. I was 25 just the other year. Now I'm 35.
I love it. See, what was I going to say? So a couple things as we kind of wrap up, but what has money done for you? Because there's people out there, money's bad, money's evil, money makes bad things. I get it. 2021, you started hitting your ramp. 2022 is even better. 2023 is even better yet. What has money allowed you to do for your life, for your kid, for just, to make a positive impact for you?
I mean, everything. Money's not everything. That's not what I mean. But it's allowed me to do more than I've ever thought I could ever do ever in my life. Like, I've got a book that I wrote. I've got this house that I live in. Dalton has a go-kart outside. I've got, a nice vehicle. I don't have to worry about money. I've got rentals now that are paying me. If I did decide to quit, I'd still have some income. I'm able to go take a vacation when I want to without using my vacation time or sick time, without having to ask somebody, like that was the thing before when I worked that 9 to 5 is I would want to take a break. I'd be so sick of working, and I'd take a vacation and sit at home for 5 days. And it was even worse than working. I'm ready to go back to work. Mm-hmm. And it was just because I couldn't afford it. Just that constant stress because I'm already like a very stressed out person for the most part, just with what I constantly bring on myself as far as what I want to do. But I was constantly stressed about paying bills. And I think it's Jordan Belfort, the guy from Wolf of Wall Street. If you've ever seen that movie, he's probably not the best example, but he says he's been broke and miserable, and he's been rich and miserable, and he'll pick rich and miserable every time because. And I'm not saying I'm rich. I'm just saying I have much more than I did. And now I don't have to worry about, is that gym bill going to come out and make me go, I'm not going to be able to pay my insurance. Then I'm going to go negative, and then I don't have enough gas. It was a constant struggle just thinking about how I'm going to juggle this $31,000 a year. And I lose sight of it sometimes of how much of a blessing it is not to have to worry about that. Now I am able to focus on the things I do because I don't have money issues strapping me down.
Mm-hmm.
Once you finally get that cushion, you go, I can breathe. Wow. Mm-hmm. If I miss a day of work, I'm not going to, not pay my bills. I can go out to eat tonight or whatever. Having that and having that room to be able to go, okay, now I can focus on what I truly want to do. Do I want to build a business? Do I want to get in the gym and get jacked? Do I want to, whatever, or do I want to learn how to play the drums or whatever, stuff that you just don't have time to do in your off time when you're at a 9 to 5, or that you simply can't afford. Like, it opens up everything you ever dreamed about, really.
Right.
But once you get into it, man, everything changes. You get addicted to the grind. It's not really about the money. It's just about, continuing to grow and be a better you.
I love it. So we can kind of wrap up here. So you got a course coming out? When's that looking to come out, and how can people?
It's pretty much out now. You can go to DustinRingCoaching.com. Our good buddy Robert Cicelo made it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
He does all my advertising. So DustinRingCoaching.com. That's where if you want to learn how to wholesale, and this is not coming from a guru. I don't have the flashy cars or none of that stuff. I just put exactly what I did to get started and exactly what I do now, and it's in a video course. So if you want to learn how I did it, especially in a town with 70,000 people, because most people will tell you got to have a town of 400,000 plus to be able to do volume. But I'm finding it almost easier to do it in these smaller areas. It's DustinRingCoaching.com. It's $2,500 for the course. You close one deal, you pay for it, and then the rest is just profit. And then if you want to hit me up on Facebook, you can find me on there. It's just Dustin Ring. It's the profile with me and my son right now, I believe. And because there's another Dustin Ring profile out there. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. Just I don't know the tags, but sure you can find me. Yeah. And if you want to take a look at my actual website where I buy houses, just go to dustinbuys.com. So if you're wondering, like, what's his website look like? What is a customer seeing? What is this all about? It'll give you a little bit more information as well of what I do. But essentially, remember, wholesaling is the ability to buy and sell a house and do like little mini flips on them without ever doing anything. You're just signing paper and pushing paper. And some people will say, well, why don't you just rehab it yourself? I'm like, well, I could, or I can go find 5 more where I don't have to do anything. So my time is better spent marketing and finding more for my buyers.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I mean, I'm flipping houses. We got to get the volume up to wholesale. I want to complement that. I it's fun to employ people, but there's headaches with that too. So it's
stressful.
Yeah, and really wholesale to me isn't really. It's the same category as flipping. You're just a longer transaction, right?
Yeah.
Whereas unless you're actually holding and renting it out and building long-term wealth. So, there's a mix of all of it. So super valuable, but you're
able to find the best deals really, because you're the one finding them. So if it's a super awesome, I'm able to cherry pick my rentals because I'm like, hey, this one's already cash flowing. It doesn't need any work. It's super cheap. I can wholesale it where I can buy it.
Yep. And in real estate, if you're reading the books and reading anything, you make money on the buy, right? So
that's right.
Control the buy and learn the game. And if not, and you're in his area, get connected with him. If you're looking to get into real estate, he can find the property for you. And your example of 60,000, you get it, you offload it for 70, they put 20 into it, you're all in for 90, and he said it's worth 150. So it's still going to be better.
It appraised at 165, but you put it on 150, you've still got 60K in equity.
Yeah. So everybody wins.
Listed at 6%, your realtor's going to get their chunk, you're going to get your chunk. It's got to be a win-win-win. That's most important.
Yep. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. We'll try to put
thanks for having me.
Your contacts in the notes, the show notes. This will probably go out in a few weeks. And appreciate you coming on. And
thanks, Dan. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for showing me some love on this.
Absolutely.
Had a blast.